a very interesting journey, including new MAGA enthusiast Cenk, I said that deliberately to wind him up, the host and founder of the Young Turks, libertarian Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, Lindy Lee, the DNC Finance Committee member and advisor, and former woke activist turned YouTuber, Amala Ekpunobi. Well, welcome to all of you. So Cenk, I mean, many people saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of that. I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud.
Wow.
Who changed all of his positions and is totally used.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. This is crazy, folks. He's calling him a sellout. Although he's a sellout, but he's a sellout too. This guy is calling this guy sellout. Wow. And this is a rogues. This is a. Here, folks. This is. Let me give you this video. I'm gonna. Piers Morgan. And this he has a. I don't know. I guess all MAGA people debate. Now he's a MAGA. It is a gallery of rogues, I call it, or MAGAs.
And it shouldn't even be on here. It's just a waste of space.
Wow. Really? After what all Dave said about coming together?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've not got no interest in coming together with utter frauds like Dave Rubin. So, brother, you telling me that when you were on the Young Turks, you were Mr. Progressive and you agreed with us 100%. Now all of a sudden you agree with Trump 100%. You're not saying something nuanced like we are. Hey, you know when the guy gets shot at.
See, all these people are grifters, except for every one of these people are probably grifters, except for this guy. I might respect this guy, the libertarian guy. All these people are grifters, folks.
Just pissed off. That's courageous. When he does the McDonald's photo op and it works fine, no problem, right? If he wants to cut the Pentagon, great. Those are progressive positions. Anti-corruption, progressive position. Anti-war, progressive position. But you change all of your ideology overnight and you expect us to believe that that's real? I don't think it's real at all. And I want an apology from you for all the crazy, outrageous lies that you told about the Young Turks. When is that going to happen, huh? Wow. When are you going to admit that you changed all your positions for money? Okay, what position do you still have that's in any way a so-called classic liberal? You fraud,
Dave.
Oh my God.
Piers, it's barely worth responding to this ridiculous buffoon who's the joke of the industry. But I will say this, Cenk, I haven't spoken to you in 10 years. I haven't spoken to you in 10 years.
I don't think he's a fraud or a joke. I think Dave Rubin is, for what it's worth, I think Dave Rubin is one of the most influential and significant voices out there right now. And I admire his honesty about the journey he's been on, Cenk.
Piers, I appreciate that, but you know the thing is, what Cenk just proved is exactly what everyone in America, and I would say all over the world, is getting over. Nobody wants what he just offered up there. Not only does no one believe it, and he had it prepackaged and ready to go, and it's complete drivel. Yes, I sold out. It's just it's so nonsensical. Again, Cenk, I'll gladly send you a signed copy of the book, and you can read all of my thoughts. And if you're anti-corruption and you're anti-war, you should be on the Trump train. But your endless hatred, the division that you sow, calling everyone racist and white supremacists, all of that stuff, it's why you're not respected. But I don't mean to get into the personal side of that. I'm talking about now something that culturally has shifted, and everyone can see the grift that you're up to, trying to sort of dance with the thing.
Yeah, sure is a grift.
But it's just not necessary, and I don't think that many people will buy it.
Well, Cenk, let me put to you, Cenk, something that Laura. Hang on, Cenk. Cenk, hang on. I'm gonna read you something just to see your reaction. But Laura Loomer called you out on X, as you know, and she said this: "You are the radical left, Cenk. You're a con artist and an opportunistic grifter who's gotten rich off demonizing President Trump, calling his supporters fascists and Nazis, promoting open borders, glorifying Hamas, and pushing conspiracy theories about."
Well, Trump. He got rich on grifting off of marginalized people. That's what he's done. I mean, Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump is bad, but His grift started before Donald Trump.
Trump for 9 years. If you want forgiveness, get on your filthy knees and pray to Allah, because you aren't welcome on the right and you aren't ever going to find a redemption arc, no matter how hard you pander. And she goes on and on. I'm going to keep calling you out every time you try to move an inch closer to many on the right, because you're too dense and too dumb, because they're too dense and too dumb to decode your subversion, but I'm not. So look, there are lots of people on the right who think that you're on some great move here to, as she puts it, wiggle your way into the middle and over to the right, so you can then poison MAGA with your, as she puts it, subhuman political takes. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay, so look, this is, people like Laura Loomer and Dave Rubin are the exact problem. And I think actually somebody else on this panel that was part of the solution, that's Dave Smith. And I want to come back to that in a second. So when you have people like Dave Rubin switch all of their positions, what happens is when you go to do nuance and you say, hey guys, hold on, let me explain, hold on. Yeah. Hey, go President Trump again.
Oh, what a crazy! This
He goes from Bernie to Trump and pretends.
I think this is a cat fight. Dave Rubin versus Cenk Uygur. Wow.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I tell people what I
what
believe
do
in.
you believe in? You believed in something yesterday. You don't believe in anything today.
Yeah, what position? What position do you think I hold that I don't honestly believe?
Can I answer the
Name one.
Cenk versus Rubin.
Yeah.
Can I answer the question? Can I answer Trump?
Yeah, what position do I say that I believe that I don't really believe? Go ahead.
Brother, you went on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. You went on Tucker Carlson on Fox News and said gay people, that the fact that the fire department was recruiting gay people was why there was forest fires. You're a national embarrassment, okay? You pleasure those guys for a living. You can pull up the clip tomorrow if you want. Okay,
I was talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you shouldn't hire people based on their genitals or their sexual orientation, and we now all know that. You have been one of the prime pushers of all of this neo-racism. I believe in meritocracy. That whether you're going to be a doctor or...
Neo-racism. Oh my God. So I guess this white treatment need apply, I guess, in Dave Rubin's world. Somebody like him can get a job. I guess he discriminate against his own, actually. That's okay, I guess. People just discriminate against his own.
Or a firefighter or a basketball player or anything else, you should be hired on your qualifications, not your genitals or sexual orientation or skin color.
There's no meritocracy in America. That's garbage.
That's actually America, so you can keep trying here.
Yeah, finish your point.
Except for sports, there's a meritocracy.
Then I'll go to Dave Smith.
Listen, yes. When this country desperately needs to unite against the establishment on things we all agree on. So things like all the populists hate corruption. All the populists hate war. By the way, Dave doesn't. Dave will demand that we...
Not all the populists. Not all the populists, especially on the right. Not all the populists. They love war. And they love the Middle East war. Like he said now with Dave Rubin. It's not just going in Israel, like Israel, the war with Israel and Gaza, but Iran and or anything else going into regarding the Middle East. Like they love those wars. Going into invading Arab countries. Like some of the right still love that. I mean, so they're not popular in that sense. I know there's some is. Some are just isolationists too. But that's why they're anti-war.
We start every war for Israel and pay for all of Israel's war. So he's been established around that all along.
When you talking about Israel, I'm not going to get into that.
So, but when you go to say, hey, can we get an agreement on things that we agree on? The left pushes back because they're so afraid. They got traumatized by the Dave Rubins of the world They're like, oh, if you take one step, not even in their direction, if you allow the right wing to take a step in our direction, they're worried that you're going to be a fraud like Dave Rubin and change all of your positions overnight. So my friends on the left, do not get scarred by this fraud of a man. There are other people like Dave Smith, who
let me bring in Dave
is a
Smith.
libertarian. Right. We disagree on other issues.
Let me bring in
but
Dave
we
Smith.
can actually unite.
My friends on the left.
On the things that we care
All right.
about.
Let me bring in Dave
In
Smith.
order to unite, you got to get past
Crazy.
the frauds like Dave
All
Rubin.
right. Dave Smith, welcome back to Uncensored. Obviously, things have kicked off. I actually thought there might have been a coming together moment, and not the way it went, but it's gone the opposite way. Let's just take what Dave Rubin was saying and then how Cenk responded. But it seems to me that this big tent thing at Trump, I mean, it's very real. His popularity in America has never been higher than it is today. He's got an incredible mandate. The Republicans basically now are in charge of absolutely everything. You've got everyone who formally distanced themselves in 2016 racing down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and so on. I mean, it's a real opportunity, but it's undeniably an extraordinary coming together of people from all types of political views and so on.
You mentioned Trump has a mandate. He has no damn mandate. Won by 1.4%. That's not a mandate.
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, for the record, that I like both Dave and Cenk.
So do I. I agree.
Cenk did work in a compliment toward me, and Dave, you weren't able to do that, so I'm going to be on Cenk's side on this issue now.
Dave, you and I have some differences. I've never gone after you. I like you, absolutely.
That's true. Listen, I don't look bigger than your guys like personal beef. I think it's what's going on here is really kind of amazing. Well, okay, but I'm just saying, if you zoom out here, I think since this last election, people are focused on this kind of realignment and the new political dynamics in America. But if you look back 8 years ago in 2016, during this election, in both major political parties, you had essentially civil wars. I mean, Donald Trump came in and took over the Republican Party against the will of the establishment and the donor class. In 2016, the RNC was floating out the idea of changing the rules, as you remember well, Pierce, all the way up until the convention. They were floating out the idea of trying to steal this thing from Donald Trump. Of course, that same year, the Bernie Sanders movement had to be flat out cheated by the Democratic establishment. So it's not as if these things haven't been building for quite a long time. I think what happened in this election is that the thing that unified people around Trump was one, like Dave, like you said, me and you disagree on a lot of issues. I think a lot of people who ended up supporting Trump disagree on a lot of issues. The one thing that united all of us is that we opposed the blatant corruption of the establishment and the corporate media apparatus, which is nothing more than the mouthpiece of the regime, constantly in the business of lying to the American people in service of the regime. And this is what this is how you're able to get someone, a liberal like Bobby Kennedy and a liberal like Tulsi Gabbard and somebody like J.D. Vance or somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, why they can all come together.
A liberal, yeah, he's a liberal.
Together is that they all oppose the corruption that permeates D.C. that is.
I think he's a Democrat, Bobby Kennedy, or Robert Kennedy Jr.
Truly, profoundly degraded this country over the last 25 years, and I think that there's just with that basic understanding, there's a lot that people, even with very different political views, can agree on.
Yeah. Amala, I want to come to you. I want to play a clip from Stephen A. Smith.
Grifters.
This is where he's calling out people who say he's on the right because he's been criticizing Democrats. Let's take a listen.
No surprises. You just continue to piss me off. Why? Because every time I make a comment that's critical of the Democratic Party or the left, I get accused of being a pundit for the right. I voiced my concerns about Joe Biden and his ability to serve as second term as president. Then Biden stepped on the debate stage in late June and revealed what many suspected. He embarrassed himself. The White House and the Democrats eventually switched to Vice President Kamala Harris when he stepped away. I pointed out my concerns with the campaign of the Democratic Party along the way, and many of you wanted to accuse me of being a voice for the right.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm going to forward this, because it's stupid. See, Stephen A. Smith is a He's a clown. Even on his sports, he has bad takes on his. Even on ESPN, he has bad takes, ridiculous takes on his broadcast. With always, and in politics, he's even worse. And I don't know what he's saying about Kamala Harris, or what kind of. He didn't mention what. He didn't even show what he's talked, what he's criticized about her. What did he say? He didn't explain what concerns he had. I mean, unless maybe he did. But I guess the way he's supposed to be a Democrat, and I think he seems like he's the shilling for the Republicans. I mean, he has like a weird takes. And it's not incoherent too. Once he's even, I don't know what he's talking about. Cause Roland Martin break it down. He broke down what he said, and it's incoherent. I mean, look at this stupid girl. They're gonna mention her.
You know, I just find it inexplicable that someone like him, who's so smart, can pass genuinely constructive criticism about why Democrats got it wrong, and immediately he has to be branded a right-wing headbanger, and that's the only reason he's doing this. When in fact, a bit of serious introspection from the Democrats is obviously massively overdue. What do you think of it, Amala?
Kamala, that's her name.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with your characterization. I think this is the big part of why they lost this past election, and it's this sort of dogmatic fervor that they have for everybody to toe every single part of the ideology that they represent. And I had a very similar experience. I used to be an extremely radical leftist. I was working for a left-leaning organization.
Oh, he's a freaking year, just I guess a sellout. And then this is probably another grifter.
Students to work on all
grifter.
All of these different woke campaigns that were circulating
woke
at
campaign.
The time. And as soon as I started to
you know what woke means, my sister? I mean, you know what woke really means? You're using the right-wing narrative. Woke. I mean, these people are. I mean, Cenk wants to team up with these people. This is you know why he's a grifter. And he hates Dave Rubin. How could he criticize Dave Rubin? He's doing the same thing as Dave Rubin. But we'll see. He said it's nuance. But he's doing the same thing as Dave Rubin. See, he switches positions gradually. He's pretty smart. He didn't do it overnight like Dave Rubin. And this woman's a grifter. She's a sellout. And she has problems. Like she has a white mother. I think that's why. And like she's in a mixed marriage and mixed parents. So I don't know. That has something to do with this. Her kind of like leading towards. A lot of even black people call her. Like on the even like not just black leftists call her out. I think other black people, like FBAs, call her out. But those people call her out. Like she's a white. Like she's like a sellout, black sellout to white people. So not just the leftists.
The narrative or question the fabric of the ideology I was pushing, I was immediately, thrust out into the open to sort of explore these ideas and figure out maybe I'm on the wrong side here, because I was with a group of people that were claiming to be tolerant, but as soon as you have an ounce of skepticism, they are ready to push you aside and label you as far right. And I think much to their dismay, what this is going to create is a group of people that feel so isolated that they are willing to indulge in.
She's a total grifter. It's like Candace Owen. Candace Owen was on the left, and all of a sudden she switched her positions. So she's a total grifter. See, you could tell.
right-leaning ideology, what they would characterize as far right, but at this point it's just, reasonable common sense. And as they are abandoned by their side, they're going to look to others and they're going to be accepted because
she does a culture war. That's all she does too. All she does is they just do the culture. He's for economic populists. I mean, all these people do the culture wars. Even this woman here, she talked about. I'm not gonna say skip her. She's gonna call out the DNC. I'm gonna skip her segment. Cause she talks about the culture war, and even this guy, Ruben does. All they do is talk about the culture wars, and he wants to partner with these people. So I don't know what this guy. He's talking about anti-war. See, only good guy here is this guy, libertarian.
Able to explore. We are actually promoting skepticism.
Yeah, Lindy, I want to play a clip. This is Kamala Harris overnight. I don't know why she thought this was a good idea to come back out before Christmas.
Oh boy, I'm gonna skip this. So I want to go to this one. Dunk on Kamala Harris. Let me see this. Let me play her a little bit. I'll play this a little bit. This section, let me see. Lindy Lee being boycotted by leftists.
Isn't there a firefighter?
Well, before,
a cop and an Indian? I'm not sure.
Hold on. Look, there's a couple of super important things to say here. First of all, in answering your question, look, Dave doesn't believe in any of the positions he believed in. Before, he thought he believed in affirmative action. He believed in this. Okay, affirmative action. And now he says it's the worst thing in the world.
Affirmative action. I evolved. I used to believe in identity politics.
Okay, so you changed. You
Ha.
asked me to say.
Yes,
Why can't you
asked me to
change?
name something you changed on. I named it.
You're telling me I don't believe what I'm saying right now.
Let's go back a little bit.
Attacks on her character and her behavior and saying awful things, and you can describe that as misogynistic and all those things. Look at everything that Cenk just said to me. These are just attacks not on my beliefs, but on my character, which again, he couldn't illustrate one thing that I say that I don't believe. I came out, I woke up very early to the excesses of the left, what we now know as wokeness. I came out against identity politics, and I wanted to return America to what it was founded on, which was individual liberty and judging everyone by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. The progressive movement is wildly attached to something that brings everyone back to ancient hatred. So when you leave...
This is garbage, folks. I guess so this. Well, see, Cenk, you want to partner with these people. Cenk Uygur. But I guess he's anti-black. You're bigot himself. You want to partner with people that you want to throw people under the bus. Don't care about justice. I mean, so we just discriminate against minorities. That's what these guys want. Go back to that.
The left, as both of the ladies just pointed out, you will get unending hatred, usually having nothing to do with what you believe or you say.
Yeah, you're not going to hate you. You're getting called out for your grifting. And this woman's a grifter. She wants to go on a grift, you could tell.
Again, I would just have anyone rewind the video and listen to the nonsense that Cenk said about me to prove that it still exists.
Well, Cenk, I mean, you did launch a very aggressive ad hominem attack on Dave Rubin off the top, which was your decision to do that. But in relation to his specific question, Cenk, can you say one thing that Dave Rubin believes in today that you don't think he believes?
Donald Trump has YMCA. Isn't there a firefighter a cop and an Indian? I'm not sure.
Hold on. Look, there's a couple of super important things to say here. First of all, in answering your question, look, Dave doesn't believe in any of the positions he believed in. Before, he thought he believed in affirmative action. He believed in this. Okay, affirmative action. And now he says it's the worst thing in the world.
Affirmative action. I evolved. I used to believe in identity politics.
Okay, so you changed.
Like
you asked me to say.
Yes,
why can't you
asked me to name something you changed on. I named it.
You're telling me I don't believe what I'm saying right now. You're calling me a sellout.
Did you believe the Russian propaganda you were paid for?
Oh, you are an
Did you believe the Russian
utter-
propaganda you were paid for?
I was not paid, Cenk. I was
You were
not
paid
paid for it.
$100,000 a video.
Oh my God!
Oh
you
my
clown.
God.
I would recommend anyone look into that to find out a bit more on that. Cenk, how
Yeah,
much
the
when you
FBI's
took
looking
one
into
milk
it.
from Jeffrey Katzenberg? What did that do
Yeah, I did fit. That's right about that. Katzenberg and Polymarket Studios, Polymarket Gambling. It's not called a Polymarket Studio. He's studio in he broadcasts now. And Russian propaganda. Well, it's all about the Russian. He's kind of doing Russiagate. It's all about Russia. I mean, I'm not too. I mean, the big deal to me nowadays. I don't know. I mean, and there's our propaganda on the other side, the Ukraine too. The media said the media does. The mainstream media does it, and Cenk does it too. I mean, with Zelensky, some corruption he has in his government.
And did I change my positions at all? Not 1%. Not 1%. Okay, can I just
You did.
address the
What
core
position did I?
problem?
What
Garbage.
position do you
Look, there's
think I
three
hold?
different-
Not 1%. You sure you did? You sure you about that, Cenk? Oh, and the policing, you sure, and crime? That's a big change. Crime and homelessness. Definitely on crime and social justice. I guess you don't talk about police reform anymore. How about voting rights? And Medicare for all doesn't say that anymore. He says public option. So he just changed his position.
I cannot explain my
Jeffrey
beliefs.
Katzenberg is in favor of all right, Jeffrey Katzenberg is a good guy, but he's in favor of Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. I was against all three. What part of that is unclear? So look, Piers, there's three different
Really?
Hang on.
You know, he used to be a Clinton donor. He donated to Clinton. He donated to Hillary Clinton before. That's what we're talking about.
Politics for a second.
Cenk, here's my point. The point Dave Rubin is making is, why shouldn't he be allowed to go on an evolution of his views? And why does that mean that right now you can say to him, as you did, you don't believe anything you're saying or believe now, when actually it's completely possible that he 100% believes everything he now says because he's changed his mind? Why can't he do that? And why don't you believe him?
I think that the left is scarred by people like Dave Rubin, who had a complete change. For example, Tulsi Gabbard goes from total progressive to total right-winger. On the other hand, RFK Jr. didn't go to a total right-winger. He still believes the things that he believes about the environment, about housing, about corruption, etc. So you have to be able to distinguish between the people who are doing it professionally.
He's kind of bad on the vaccines, though, but... And the vaccines are good. They're good.
As I hate the word grift, but whatever it is that you want to call it, and the people who have genuine disagreements and genuine nuance in their opinions. So, for example, guys, there's three different branches of each party. There is the radical right, radical left. There's the populist left and populist right, and then there's the establishment of both parties. I despise the establishment with every fiber of my being. And I've been doing that same exact program for over 22 years, longest running show in internet history. And we've never wavered on that. But now the radical left, unfortunately, is doing what you're worried about, Piers. That the minute that they see anything where you say, I agree with the right, when they agree with us on something like anti-war, they go, oh my God, hold on, let me finish the thought. Let me finish the thought. And what people then say is, oh no, he's going to pull a Dave Rubin, because these guys get paid to go fully right-wing and then they'll throw their own people under the bus. So they'll pick a gay guy like Dave to throw gay people under the bus. If you see me going after Muslims, if you see me going after people that I've always supported, then you have an issue. But part of and this is not a pivot, guys. We've been fighting the radical left for 2 straight years now. Because they say absurd things like, hey, if the right wing agrees with us, we shouldn't do it anyway. We had somebody leave the network because they said, everyone on the right wing is racist. If you
You didn't say that.
Right wing in anything, even if it's things that we agree on, that makes you racist, and it hurts black bodies.
All right.
See, that's absurd.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Of course it is.
I'm not saying it's Mondale Robinson, folks, and he didn't say everybody. And he's been attacked by MAGAs. His life has been threatened, so I can understand why. I mean, I can understand why he's doing. He called people them racist. He's been attacked by MAGAs, and some MAGAs are racist. I mean, to say that they're not, because there's no racism at all, I guess. Especially the right. And so the party itself was racist, white racist party, Republicans.
The irony is that you and Dave Rubin probably agree with a lot more than you're prepared to ever admit. You just don't think his views are sincere because he's changed his mind on a number of positions. By the way, I used to think I was liberal. I have nothing in common with modern woke liberals. Zero. Let me bring Dave.
This guy's not a liberal.
Smith back in. Let me bring Dave Smith back in. Dave, look, this is part of the problem.
This guy's hacked into people's phones. I don't know if you all know that. When he was at British paper news organization, I mean, they hacked into people's people's cell phones. So that's illegal.
To me, is that actually, if people stop the ad hominem stuff, they can find a lot of common ground. Where I think there's been a very rapid repudiation of a lot of the nuttier progressive left stuff, and you're seeing America actually through Trump, albeit through he has his inflammatory rhetoric, but you're seeing America, I think, coming to a far more centrist place actually, which is
okay.
Why
He's right. All right. America always been like a centrist. I think it's slightly to the left actually, or moderate. Okay, it's moderate. But it's not fully right-wing as I thought. So it's kind of moderate, to maybe a little bit left. Well, nowadays, okay, you say it's right because they voted for Trump. So it's a little bit slightly right. Slightly right of center, but mostly moderate. So he's right about that.
he's managed to attract people from all different walks of life. I think that's what's going on. And you're seeing the people on the extremities beginning to look more and more irrelevant.
Oh, I don't believe that at all. I don't really believe that. He's got, the thing is, he got a lot of, Democrats lose because they didn't vote. I mean, they didn't get out their base. That's why they lost. It's not because Trump got new people. That's bullshit. Maybe he got a few new, maybe he got more black voters and Latino voters than before. But he got out his base. And Democrats didn't vote. That's why they lost. Not because they got new voters, new people voted for Trump.
You know, a lot of times it's about how we use these words and what they actually mean. I'm not sure that centrist is the right word, but I do think, to your point, if you have people who call themselves liberals and they are blatantly opposed to free speech, which there are quite a lot of. You know, this has been very normalized over the last 10 years, really over the last 8 years.
So it's the right, though. Oh my God.
I don't mean to drive this into semantics, but what you're describing is not liberalism. I mean, this is just, and in a similar sense, like, people who are, anti-war or pro-free speech, the idea that that's considered like a right-wing position is just nutty. I mean, I think anybody it's like, at this point, then these words don't mean anything. I think that in many ways, whether you call something centrist or radical depends on the current environment, right? So like if you were in the middle of Adolf Hitler's rise in Nazi Germany, being, you know, it would be a pretty radical position to...
I mean, don't they, Elon Musk censors people on the, like some people on his X. I mean, say certain wrong thing, you might get censored. I mean, and look at the protests. They wanted to lock people up. We're protesting, all the protests in the summer. They wanted to lock people on the right, wanted to lock those people up. But both sides, actually. See, both sides are, you said the liberals, he's right. The liberals and the Republicans, the cons. I don't think the left. Maybe some issues, but nowadays I don't think the left is more. The left nowadays is more for free speech. I mean, maybe back in the day you could say yeah. But the liberals and the conservatives. Yeah, both of them are not free speech. But I think you got to distinguish. So there's a difference between the left and then there's the left and there's the liberals. So the liberals are not for free speech, but the left is more for free speech.
Believe in like Jewish rights. That today in America is a very normal centrist position that almost everyone agrees with. So what Donald Trump, again, I think the more correct framing here is the establishment versus the dissidents. And if you think about, everybody loves to brag about a convert. So when Dave Rubin goes from being kind of a progressive to being more of a classical liberal, everybody who's in that classical liberal camp loves that because they're like, look, see, this guy woke up and saw the light and he wants to be...
This is like a class reductionist. Somebody was saying that. Some other leftists were saying, like, these people promote.
With us. And then the tendency of people who are in his old camp is to say, oh, no, he's sold out. But I'm not reading anybody's mind. I don't know what, I treat everyone, I take them at their word. The point is that look, Kamala Harris was bragging about the Republicans that she had supporting her, right? But who were the Republicans that were supporting Kamala Harris? It was Dick Cheney and his daughter. And you know what I'm saying? Like, all the establishment Republicans are the ones who joined him. Who did Donald Trump get? Well, they were all of the dissidents. And, you know, Tulsi Gabbard, again, Jake, I get your point. I mean, she has changed on several of her views. But might that have something to do with the fact that when she stood up and criticized the war in Iraq, the blood-soaked monster who sent her there called her a traitor to her country for that. And so when you have that type of dynamic and you get viciously smeared in that way, what tends to happen is people go to a different group and they start listening to that other group. And maybe they get compelled by some of the arguments. Now, I'm not disagreeing with you that it's also true that you always have to guard against audience capture and perverse incentives and things like that. We all have to fight that force all the time. But it's also true that, you know, I remember there's kind of a stand-up comedian after Louis C.K. got in trouble, and when he started coming back, they started insulting the people who were buying tickets to see him. And then they started saying that Louis C.K. only plays for right-wing audiences now. But their definition of right-wing was anyone who wants to buy a ticket to go see him still. So it's just like, what happens is that if one group is saying, you're a monster, we hate you, you're a traitor to our country, you should be punished forever, and the other group is saying, hey, we like your point on that, people tend to go toward the path of less resistance and find a new home.
Yeah.
But I would also say there's something deeper there, which is that people on the right are much more willing to agree to disagree. So you can talk to people. RFK, he was running as a Democrat, and what happened? He got virtually nothing but hate from the lefties. By the way, for the record, I debated, because RFK was for affirmative action when he was running for president, I'm not. Yeah. We debated it on my show, so I can clearly lay out my beliefs on that. And he sort of at the end of it kind of admitted that I was right. You don't solve perceived former discrimination with discrimination of today. But what you will consistently find, what I know my good friend Amala has found over the years, is that as you wake up and you leave the progressive plantation.
You mean as long as you agree with the right? I mean, that's what he's talking about, and it's okay.
What you will find is people on the right that you're told are evil and scary, like Dennis Prager and Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly and all these people, that you may not agree with them on everything, but they will break bread with you. They will be generous of time and spirit. And you.
Dennis Prager's crazy. The Christo fascists. It's crazy. These people are Cenk Uygur. Calls you up to the Christo fascists, and he's a Muslim. We're crazy. And this woman is just freaking. These people are terrible, folks, except for this guy. But even this, I don't agree with libertarian, because this, I guess. Okay, they're anti-war. That's the one good thing about it. But in the economics, they're terrible. Libertarians are terrible. I mean. These people are all terrible, folks.
You will consistently find that, and there's almost no version of that on the left. That is just simply true. And again, there's a living, breathing example of it right here.
Well, let me bring Amara in on that, because actually, Cenk, I'll come back to you. Hang on. Let me bring Amara in on that, because I've had the same experience. I find that I've interviewed a lot of people that I always felt were certainly way more right-wing than I'd ever been.
He's been slammed.
And I really enjoy talking to them. I had really good conversations, and I could argue with them about X, Y, Z, and agree with them about this, and this. And the common ground was all the.
And you're a right wing. You're more right wing than. I don't think this guy is. He's a leftist. He's not. Okay, he's more of a. He used to be a liberal. I don't think he's a liberal. I don't think he's anything. He's just this Piers Morgan. He's more like a centrist. So maybe that's.
Progressive left stuff, which most of it was nutty, but it was also based, Amala, on something you've picked up on, which is a denial of truth. And that was the key thing for me. When I saw the progressive left trying to convince me it was perfectly okay for trans women, for example, to compete in women's sport
my God.
Because they're women, when in fact we all know they are biological men, and I respect their fact that they want to be trans women, that's fine. And if they want to be called she or her or whatever, that's fine too. What you can't do.
You go into the culture wars, man. This is all about the culture wars. Oh my God. How many trans women are there in the sports? 50 trans women or 100 in US sports, in the high schools. A minuscule amount. I mean, this is just the culture wars. They're just doing the. We're not talking about economic populism. That's what they got to talk about. Not this garbage, man. It's crazy.
Is erode.
See, all the right wing does is go into the culture wars. That's all it is. This both you're gonna get partnership with these goofs. Cenk Uygur. It's all about the culture war. Even this girl, she does the culture war. I saw her TikTok videos or YouTube shorts. That's the culture war she goes into, especially on race. She's this woman's a race. They call her a race baiter. This is a race baiter here. This girl, definitely. There's a race baiter on the other side, like on the other. They call black people. No, they are race baiters. Some that are they're dishonest, like Tariq Nasheed. He's kind of a race baiter. Now he's an anti-immigrant baiter kind of. You can say, yeah, there's dishonest actors in the pro-black movement. And Umar Johnson, but no, I don't think Umar Johnson's, he's wrong on certain things. But his race baiters on the other side. Surely there's white people, and there's certain black people, black conservatives, they're race baiters. I mean, they defend, they apologize for the white races. So this girl is right here. Yeah, let's go.
Rights at the altar of this movement. And that is where I realized the left were losing their minds and losing their track on reality. And you said it was basically a denial of truth generally. Was that one of the things that you would say was an example?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had tons of motivations for changing my political ideology and rethinking things.
See, she's
number one being the gay firefighters.
She's a Christian
that was
too.
the first thing that really started things up for me. But I think it's a
I think
combination.
she's an evangelical Christian, I think too. So that explains it. She's anti, and she's homophobic, actually. This woman's homophobic. But I just point that out. I mean, I don't care. I don't care about gay, anything, or trans, gay, or whatever. I don't care. How about real issues, the economy? We can talk about crime too, if you want. But this is culture wars. Let's talk about all this do is culture wars. These people.
Of yes. With that example that you just used of this trans issue and in Title IX, we're failing to acknowledge how far left the progressive left has moved, and that's a big factor. You know, a lot of people say, I didn't leave the left left me. And you're sort of standing in your positions and watching as people become more and more extreme, and for me, farther away from the truth and reality. Now, you couple that with this feeling of being lied to in that you've dedicated yourself to this ideology. You've worked to promote these ideas, and then you feel abandoned by this group. So we're building an equation here. On top of that, we have the other things that our panelists have mentioned, the smear campaigns, the attack that you get on the other end of even just trying to...
You know what I'm going to see? What happens? When Trump gets in office officially, see what happens. I'm going to laugh at these people say that they're going to be a populist movement. They're going to stop all his bad things he's going to do. And they're going to do this and that, Cenk says cut the Pentagon. And he's going to get flattened. He's going to get flattened by Trump. These people. When create a populist movement, they're gonna move Trump. He's gonna flatten them, and people's gonna get hurt by this. I mean, I think you have to resist. These people are they're just grifted, or maybe they're scared. But Cenk these are right wingers, except for this Asian woman here. And it looks like she wants to grift too, because she's going on Fox News. She wants to be on Fox News. But Cenk Uygur, I mean, man, it doesn't work out. I'm gonna say I told you so, folks. Huh? We'll see. I told you so. And it's gonna be even worse.
Raise your hand and get a question in is just absolutely insane. And then you mix in a little bit of the acceptance that you get from the other side as soon as you're willing to hear them out and maybe accept some of their ideas. And
He's talking nonsense. This woman's garbage. Let's go a little further. What's what they're talking about?
Shrinking their tent. They're basically telling me they're pushing me.
I want to hear let's see. She's whining about the election. Let's see this.
But that's got nothing to do with the cold-blooded execution of an executive. And this hero worship of this guy, Luigi Mangione. He's not a hero, is he?
So, Piers, I abhor violence, and you know that on every topic, including Israel, Gaza, I always say the same thing. Which is violence is both deeply immoral and deeply counterproductive. It's a surrender in the battlefield of ideas. So, but as you see that poll, Piers, you can call them morons, and I disagree with them. So I understand your frustration. But at the same time, if you ignore why they're having this unusual a reaction to a killing, you're making a mistake. And the reason they're having that reaction is because we live under corporate rule, and now both right and left hate that corporate rule. And health insurance is an excellent example of it. According to studies, 76,000 people die every year because they don't have health insurance, because they can't afford privatized health insurance. So the core job of the government is to protect us, military, police, firefighters, and yes, health insurance saves our lives. We're the only nation on earth that doesn't have universal health care. We let our own citizens die for profit. So that is the frustration that is built up, and now being shown in an unproductive way through this killing and the support of the guy who did the killing. But if you don't go address that massive health insurance problem, you're going to get more and more of this, and you can get angrier and angrier, and we can all go into our separate camps. But that's not going to solve it. What's going to solve it is ending corporate rule. And the number one issue is that the establishment takes money from those corporate donors and serves their corporate donors. All right. Both Trump and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris took $700,000 from the health insurance industry to make sure that nothing fundamentally changed. That is a core problem. And if you're a Democrat or you're on the left and you push people out for saying things that are true, all you're going to get is a weaker and weaker party. Let's address the root causes.
Democratic Party. I mean, both parties. Democrats. No one's pushing anybody out. I mean, but both the right and the left agree with this position. So, I guess on the other issues, so they're going to be aligned with us, with the left. I mean, because we disagree with the other issues. You shouldn't disagree with the other issues because they're going to be aligned with the Republicans. Going to be aligned with the Democrats on this issue. I mean, that's garbage. This guy is crazy.
All right, Dave Rubin, the poll was by Emerson College. 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds believe Thompson's murder was acceptable. The cold-blooded murder of a man, of a husband, a father of 2 kids in Midtown Manhattan is acceptable because he happened to be an executive at a healthcare company and they disagree with some of the policies. I mean, if it comes to that, then if that is taken and extrapolated across the country, then that's the future generation now. In America, they think that murdering executives from companies whose opinions you don't like is now acceptable. America's in a very dark place.
Yeah, well, I can basically give you Cenk's answer without the but. There's no but there. It doesn't matter what you're aggrieved about. Everyone is aggrieved about something. Everyone has been wronged by somebody, a former employer, a health insurance agent, a doctor, a former boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be. You cannot take the law into your own hands, period. If you wonder why so many people think that violence is okay, again, I would only point at the progressives who for the last decade have been calling everybody racists and bigots and saying this country's run by white supremacists and capitalism's evil and the very founding of America's evil.
All the progressives. You mean the right wingers don't do mass shootings, I guess? Really, progressives. Oh my God. And these are white supremacy. And these guys are white supremacists. Definitely. And what do you call a grifter.
Evil, and then they telling them that climate change is going to cause the world to end in 6 years, and a litany about, and that they're
And climate change is real too. So it's not real and it's not racist. There's no racism at all. America's fine. Great. And you guys are just America's fine as it is. So you just have to go back to the good old days where black people being oppressed and just Jim Crow laws, and there's no DEI. There's all white people. There's no women. Go back to the old days, America. These freaking fascists, Christo fascists take over. Huh. I mean, make me ticked off.
don't match their gender. All of these things have led to a certain psychosis in young people that's also connected to the endless doom scrolling on the phone.
So that caused the violence, I guess. All that's because of the progressive, and this guy was he's a right winger too, by the way. He wasn't a progressive. This guy is a right winger. He wasn't a leftist. This guy, the shooter. So all that caused this guy to shoot the CEO. I mean, don't they have a individual has their own? Even though everyone's responsible. Isn't that personal responsibility? Isn't that the right wing says? Personal responsibility. I mean, everyone's responsible. I mean, right up to that.
Social media, which made everyone much more antisocial than social. But if you tell everybody that the boogeyman's coming to get you everywhere at all times, and you live in a horrible place with evil people who want to kill you, then you are going to have a mass mental...
So people could die, and that's okay, I guess. People who kill, I mean, this guy, not just this guy, all the health insurance, let hundreds of thousands of people die every year. I think that's okay, I guess, with Dave Rubin. I mean, it's bad. It's a tragedy. This guy was shot, but you have no sympathy for the people that die every day, or I say every day. I don't know how much die every day. Over years, hundreds of thousands of people die every year in the U.S. from health insurance. No health care, I mean, can't afford it, so they die. I guess. That's okay, I guess. Who cares about them, I guess. But yeah, it's tragedy. No one's advocating shooting people. I mean, no one's advocating, the left is not advocating violence. And the right wing does that. They shoot people like for no reason. When there's mass shootings, all these mass shootings caused by right wingers on the other side. So the left is not doing this. Mostly on the right.
Health problem, and it's going to lead to people doing horrible things. But the second you do what Cenk just did there, which is so okay, we've got all kinds of problems, but well, then congratulations. Anyone can go out there and kill anybody because everybody's got a reason to be aggrieved. We are a nation of law and order or not. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Smith, I actually agree with that. I think the moment you equivocate when you talk about something like...
Oh, the police state. I guess you're a nation of law and order, as long as it doesn't pertain to Donald Trump. Oh, that's why you guys want to defund the FBI. Because they investigated Trump. I mean, they searched his Mar-a-Lago and all the documents, top secret documents.
Like this, you are opening the floodgates for everyone to equivocate. Whatever their cause is, whatever their gripe is, the moment you start saying, well, that murder was terrible, but... In other words, trying to find an explanation for why it's not as shocking and heinous and disgusting as it obviously was, I think you're on a very slippery slope, whatever it is.
Well, I would certainly agree that and I've seen a disturbing amount of it online and stuff like that. And so, look, obviously it's horrible to execution style kill somebody, and the whole premise of Western civilization and the Enlightenment and everything that we should consider good and advanced in civilization is that even if that guy was guilty of horrendous crimes, well, he gets a judge in a robe and a lawyer in a suit, and he gets to present his defense before he...
Yeah, you have a point there, bro.
Is convicted by a jury of his peers. The idea that you can just execute, first of all, it's evil, and also, no matter what side of it you're on, the outcome of vigilantism like this is just chaos and an awful place to live. I do think, though, that for us, for people who feel that way, we should look at a poll like that and have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, I don't think Dave is completely off. I think there has certainly been a bunch of toxic garbage that has come to dominate university life that is very bad for young people's minds. I will say, though, that as a society, we have put the young people in this country in an awful position in many ways where they do have legitimate grievances. Now, I'm not saying that justifies.
I think right wing, the more all these violence acts are more when the right on the other side, on the right, not the left. The stats will approve it. All these stats, these kind of political violence. But this wasn't really political. But they're saying like the left, the progressive, not even true, with garbage.
Is supporting anybody being executed like this. But the truth is that the big banks and the government got in business to prop up this college, which is essentially a government program at this point. The loans are given out by the government after many years of them being guaranteed by the government. We've cattle carted these young people into going into six figures in debt while they learn, for the most part, garbage. They come out of this, they're working at Starbucks, they're 150 grand in debt. My grandfather, in a much poorer, much less advanced economy, could go wait on a line and get a job after high school and support his wife, who didn't have to work and raise their kids and have 2 cars and own a home. There is simply no path toward that for a huge portion of young people. And if we don't address that and we don't try to
He's making this is the only guy who makes sense, although I disagree with him. Like, he makes sense, he's reasonable. This is the only guy he's real, folks. All these people, they're like grifters.
Fix this situation. I think we're going to be looking at this very disturbing reality where more and more young people kind of celebrate the person who just went out and made from their perception, somebody who was like in the establishment or in the winning class, made them pay. I'd also add very quickly that in the middle of that, just to add insult to injury, we still have Social Security, which is considered like a third rail that nobody, even the Republicans, will dare mention trimming at all, which is nothing but a wealth transfer program from these young people to a much richer group who have higher net worths and higher incomes and a lifetime of saving. It's the way young people have been screwed over in this society is very disturbing. And so
she cuts the Social Security. I don't know about that, folks.
Again, just to be clear, Pierce, I'm not equivocating and saying like, oh, that's why it's okay that some of them are celebrating this. Yeah. But I think we should recognize this.
Yeah, Amalo, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with what Dave Smith just said. We should recognize the problems that are maybe underlying in this guy's motivation. I obviously don't think that
this is all woke, I guess. All the woke crowd's fault.
Retributive justice is the answer in any way, shape, or form. But to somebody else's point, I think somebody said the response to this has been sort of unusual or dramatic. I kind of want to push back on that. I feel like this is becoming a common response to anybody who, we disagree with losing their life. I think for a lot of us on this panel, maybe one sentence that we've said on this show today will now lead us to our deaths being celebrated. God forbid they happen. And it's a really interesting sort of common response that we're seeing in today's time. I'm reminded of, the Titanic submersible. Now, that wasn't an assassination, but those people dying was celebrated all across the internet in a very disturbing fashion. And I think it's about this sort of redefinition of violence that we're experiencing right now. Your words are violence now. Your actions are violence. Your silence is violence. Yep. This CEO, the violence that he was committing on the daily basis was being a CEO. And I think that redefinition is really taking root, specifically in young people. And when you mix that with the agitation they feel over their economic standards, the world that they're living in, the society that is increasingly becoming sick, we're going to see, unfortunately, more of these actions take root.
Yeah, I think you make some great points. Lindy, final word to you.
Yeah, and it's really rich. Leftists love to talk about gun violence, and I am a huge advocate for gun safety. But where was that? Where was that energy when this happened?
Yeah.
Suddenly it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Suddenly they
Okay.
were worshiping at the altar of Luigi with no mention of guns, no mention of ghost guns, which is one of their favorite topics. But all of a sudden, you can hear a pin.
I'm gonna skip this.
My next guest is one of President
Well,
Trump's
that's
most
it.
loyal.
Huge advocate for.
That's a totally unhinged. That's a legal gun he had. First of all, I think it's probably illegal what he had. It's not like and it wasn't like a mass shooting, I guess. I mean, but I don't know. Or leftists. This woman's a grifter, folks. This is a terrible. But it was good, folks. Cenk versus Dave Rubin. But this is a terrible panel. It's garbage. These are all garbage people, except for this guy, except for the libertarian guy. This guy, you could form a coalition with this guy. He's kind of reasonable. He talked about student debt in colleges, see? And he's talking about economic populism. But these guys don't talk about the culture wars. That's all they talked about, really. And who's a grifter and who's not a grifter. You look at it, they talked about, see, he goes in the culture war with, every time leftist goes on the Piers Morgan channel, he talks about the culture wars, about trans, and all this crap. I mean, every time I've seen it anyways. Talks about, anyways, folks. And this is garbage. It's a garbage panel, folks. I'm out.